Hello everyone, hope you all doing well. Welcome back to our channel, and in this video I'm going to talk about all the steps that you need to follow to make sure you can install and configure Microsoft Defender Application Guard in enterprise mode with the help of Group Policy Object. Now, if you're watching the series from the beginning, in the last video we have discussed about Microsoft Defender Application Guard and how exactly the enterprise mode works. Whereas the agenda for this video is to know the end-to-end workflow wherein we will be installing the latest version of ADMX files for GPO settings. Then we will be installing Microsoft Defender Application Guard from GPO, and then we will configure GPO settings which are required for Microsoft Defender Application Guard. Now, there is one more thing which I would like to highlight here, and that is if you'll go ahead and read the official documentation of Microsoft, currently the installation is only available in 3 different methods, and the first one is from the control panel itself. Then you have PowerShell, and then you have Intune. So in the official documentation, there is no method available, or there is no setting which is defined which will go ahead and install Microsoft Defender Application Guard for you automatically. In fact, if you will read this line which says Application Guard functionality is turned off by default, however, you can quickly install it on your employee's device through either control panel, PowerShell, or MDM solution. So what I have done is I have created a very small sample script, and I'm using the same command which I will be sharing in the description section. So if you want, you can use that script, get that applied in the startup method of a GPO itself or startup method of your machine itself. And as soon as your machine gets restarted, Microsoft Defender Application Guard will be installed provided all the hardware requirements are met. Okay. Now, first things first, as I've said, that you need to install the latest version of ADMX file, because then only you will be able to configure the set of controls that I have showcased in the last video. Okay. So what you see right now is a snip from one of my server where the latest ADMX files are not installed, and as you can see, there is no folder coming here like Microsoft Defender Application Guard. But if I talk about working scenario, you should get a folder named Microsoft Defender Application Guard, and these are all the settings with which you can control how the data has to be shared between the virtualized instance and the native instance of the applications or browsers. Let me show you all this in action, and then things will make a lot more sense. So what you see right now is a working scenario for Group Policy Object, which means that on this particular machine, I have installed and configured the latest ADMX file so that I should get all the latest settings which are available. Okay. So this is my machine which has a GPO called Windows Defender Application Guard. And if I'll go ahead and show you that particular folder, that folder will get listed on this particular server because the ADMX are updated. And as you can see, I am getting this folder, which is Microsoft Defender Application Guard. But let's say this folder is not available in your environment. Okay. So now what you see is a machine which is a non-working scenario wherein the latest ADMX files are not installed. Okay. And that's the reason if I'll go ahead and check on this particular machine, I will not get that option of Microsoft Defender Application Guard. So if your machine doesn't have this option, just go ahead, download and install the latest ADMX. Okay. I'll go ahead and edit one of my group policy object, which currently exists on this particular server. And then I'll go to computer configuration, policies, admin templates, Windows components. And as you can see, I'm not getting that option of Microsoft Defender Application Guard, which means the latest ADMX does not exist. So now what I'll do is I'll come back to my server where everything is working. And on this server, I have already downloaded the latest ADMX. I'll copy it from here, and then I'll come back to my machine. And on this particular machine, I'll close all the GPMC consoles, and then I'm just going to paste this particular ADMX file that we have copied, and then we will go ahead and initiate the installation. Now, I will share the link of this ADMX file from where I have downloaded. Obviously, it's an official Microsoft link. So if you want, you can use it, download it, and then get it configured for your particular server altogether. Now, there is one more very important aspect that I would like to talk about, and that is that since in my case, this is a dev environment, UAT environment, or think about this as just a machine, on my Hyper-V, and there is no impact or no production impact. So what I will be doing is I will directly install this ADMX in the policy definition folder that exists in Windows. Okay. But there could be a different process that you will be following for your production environment, some review or, some verification before ADMX are updated. Whatever method you have, follow that. But long story cut short, you need to make sure these settings are available and the ADMX is updated. Then only you will get all the settings which are required for Microsoft Defender Application Guard. Okay. So now on my machine, it is installed. I'll go ahead and launch again the group policy management console. And for this demo, let's just create a new group policy object and see whether we are getting all the right set of options which we are referring to or not. Okay. So let's just name it as sample GPO. And now let's go back to the same location, which is computer configuration, policies, admin templates, Windows components. And as you can see, I'm getting this folder now. Okay. So if this option does not exist for you, just go ahead, download and install the latest version of ADMX. Now let's talk about the workflow end to end. Okay. Step number 1, installation of Microsoft Defender Application Guard. Now, if you guys remember when I was showing you the official documentation, there were 3 methods which were available. The first one is manually installing. The other one is PowerShell. And then you have MDM. So as per the official documentation, there is no dedicated setting which is available, which will go ahead and trigger the installation of Microsoft Defender Application Guard. So what I have done is I have created this small script. This is not even a script, basically a combination of 2 different commands. So what this will do, it will go ahead and check if this feature exists on a machine or not. If this feature does not exist on the machine, it will go ahead and install Microsoft Defender Application Guard. So in the same group policy object, which is Windows Defender Application Guard, in the scripts section, I have added this script in startup. So what does this practically mean? That whenever the machine gets restarted, it will go ahead and check for this particular feature. If this feature is not available, it will get installed. Okay. So this is the exact flow that you can also incorporate if you wish to, or if you have a different method of installing, or if you are writing your own custom script with n number of different patterns. It's completely your choice. You can do whatever you want, but this is something which can make, things slightly easier if you are just trying to test how exactly this feature is going to work. Okay. So now what will be the flow? That once you apply the GPO to a specific machine, installation will get started the moment user restarts. But since installation of Microsoft Defender Application Guard also requires a restart, so your machine has to restart again, and then Microsoft Defender Application Guard service will be active. Once Microsoft Defender Application Guard service is active, all the policies will be applied. So what I have seen, that if you will follow this method, it requires at least 2 restarts, to be very precise, for a machine to work and function as the way we are defining. Okay. So now let me just show you this in the group policy itself, which I have configured. So things will be slightly more relatable. So I'll go to group policy object and I'll open my same policy, because this is the same policy which I am using for installing Microsoft Defender Application Guard, as well as configure everything which is related to Microsoft Defender Application Guard to work. I mean, I'm talking about data sharing policy and everything. Okay. So I'll go to the section of scripts now, and then I'll go ahead and right click here, or I'll just open it. And as you can see in PowerShell scripts, my script is getting listed. Now I have clicked on show files, and I'm just clicking on edit to make sure that I'll show you the content which exists here. And this is the same information which was available in the deck. Okay. So with this method, you can go ahead and initiate the installation with the help of group policy object. The next section is configuration of network isolation settings. Defining circle of trust typically begins with defining network isolation settings. Okay. Now this is the location wherein you can go and define network isolation setting. What you see right now is one of the table which is available in official Microsoft documentation. And after following this table, these are the different links which I have added to define my circle of trust so that my user should be able to access Azure portal, Google, and docs.microsoft.com. Now, I would sincerely request you to go through this table and then create your circle of trust or define domains as per your requirement. Okay. Now let's go ahead and configure network isolation settings. So you can see there are total 7 different settings which are available, but I have enabled the second one and the fourth one for my use case. But with that being said, depending upon your requirement, you can actually go ahead and configure any setting that you can see over here. Okay. So let me just show you the one which I have configured, which is enterprise resources domains hosted in the cloud. And these are all the different links separated through pipe, which is mentioned on the deck. Okay. So this is what I have defined as my circle of trust, just to make sure if any other URL is getting listed, it should be launched in the virtualized instance. Okay. Now let's talk about the configuration of Microsoft Defender Application Guard features. I mean, the policies which are required to control the data sharing. Okay. To enable Microsoft Defender Application Guard in managed mode, I would suggest you to use value 3 here, because then it will make sure that it is working for both the browsers as well as Office 365 rich client applications. Okay. This is my recommendation, but depending upon your use case, you can choose the respective values. Okay. Now let's talk about all the settings that can be controlled for isolated instances. The first one is allowing camera and microphone access. The other one is allowing data persistence, which basically means browser data should be saved or not once the session has ended. Then the other one is allowing hardware accelerated rendering. I have disabled this. And then you have allowing auditing events, just to make sure everything is getting tracked. I have enabled this particular setting just to make sure we are logging each and every information. And practically speaking, this use case is something which I cannot demonstrate because I don't have any internal application which can redirect the browser to some external URLs. So I have disabled the setting of preventing enterprise websites from loading non-enterprise content in IE. And then this is also something which I have disabled because it's not possible for me to demonstrate. Now, the next one is the most important one, which is configuring Microsoft Defender Application Guard clipboard setting, because this is where you will be controlling that whether you want text to be allowed for getting copied or images should be blocked. Then you can also have control on print settings. And last but not the least, and the most common one, or in fact the most important one, is to control whether the data downloaded from isolated instance or virtualized instance of browser or application is kept separate or not. So in total, these settings which are highlighted in green is what I have configured in my use case. But since you know now the purpose of each and every setting, you can pick and choose as per your requirement. So now I'm inside this particular folder of Microsoft Defender Application Guard. The first setting is set to 3, so that making sure everything works as expected. Then I have disabled camera and microphone setting. Then I have also disabled data persistence so that everything gets cleared when the instance is closed. Then the next one is allowing hardware accelerated rendering. It is disabled. And then the next one is allowing auditing events. It is enabled. Then the next one is going ahead and checking the enterprise content. And as I've said before, that this is something which I can't showcase, so I've just not configured this one. The next one is also something which I have not configured. Then the clipboard setting, here I have selected 1. Now if you navigate to this particular description section, you can see if you will choose 1, it will allow copying text, allow image copying, or allow both. So I have now only applied copying of text, to be very precise. And then you can also choose the direction. I mean, whether you want to allow it from native instances to isolated instances, or both, or any one. Okay. Now the next one here is controlling print capabilities. So I have practically blocked everything for my environment. That's why when I clicked on print, I was not getting any information. And the last setting is to make sure everything stays isolated when it comes to virtualized instance. So this was all about knowing how exactly different settings related to Microsoft Defender Application Guard can be configured. What are the possible settings which are available? Now, if I talk about the workflow that we have to follow, 3 different steps are remaining. Testing edge behavior with untrusted URLs, opening Office 365 files from untrusted domains, and then checking event logs. And this is exactly what we are going to cover in our next video. Okay, so let's talk about a quick summary of what all we have discussed in this video. We have discussed about end-to-end workflow, installing latest ADMX files for GPO settings, installing Microsoft Defender Application Guard with the help of group policy object with the sample PowerShell script, and then configuring GPO setting for Microsoft Defender Application Guard. In the next video, we'll choose a test machine and we'll apply the group policy object that we have created, and we'll see what is the behavior. So if you think that this channel is helping you to learn anything new, please feel free to subscribe and share this video with your technical community. If you want to show some support, please go ahead and join the support membership of the channel. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.